expert lecture which is given by our Sir Chandrasekhar. So I invite you all to this one day webinar series talk. I request our HOD ma'am to please invite our students as well as the speaker of the day. HOD ma'am, kindly invite.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, all. Good morning, Chandrasekhar sir. Thanks for accepting our invitation and taking this responsibility of giving and sharing your knowledge to our students. So, students, I think you have got the best opportunity to learn from the expert. So, make the maximum use of sir's knowledge and try to get more knowledge and have fun in learning. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, madam. This is my privilege. I take this privilege to introduce the speaker of the day, that is Chandrasekhar BS. He's rightly working as project lead of Indian Disk Technology Private Limited, consultant for Qualcomm Canada. He has a vast experience domain of ARM. He has already worked with Honeywell, Sony, Intel, KVM, and Calsoft. Sir has already worked with ARM Linux application development in C++, as well with middleware development in C++ as a driver development. Sir has an experience in developing the drivers for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. He has already worked with the Qualcomm Hexagon DSP optimization. And right now, Sir is having hands-on experience on the popular chipsets like BCM 75811, Raspberry Pi HI 3560, IMX51, OPAM 3530, and so on. And right now, we are concentrating on Atmel as well as the Linux software with respect to ARM LPC2148. Sir has already worked with other operating systems too, with respect to Limo, Android, Linux, RT Linux, and OS 20 embedded operating system. The domain and the research work which Sir is interested in is with respect to aerospace and automotive, healthcare, aerospace, and multimedia. Sir, thank you. And this is a short and brief introduction of Chandrasekhar sir. Thank you, sir. I invite once again to this talk. And I again tell our students that this is a wonderful opportunity for us to have an experienced person here to give a talk about the hands-on and what exactly the industry scenario with respect to the processors. Sir, I give this time over you, sir. You can take over. Thank you. Chandrasekhar sir, it's over to you now. Hello, Chandrasekhar sir. I think there is
having a network issue. He'll just be connecting.
Yeah. PK sir, I welcome you. Meanwhile, I request you to speak some words, sir, motivating words to our students about the ARM processor.
Me?
Yes, sir, PK sir, yes, sir.
You have
just to motivate our students to
HOD
the ARM processor.
You ask
no, sir, Meanwhile, you speak,
Professor
sir.
Ramesh, madam. You ask Ramesh, sir.
Yeah,
Ramesh, sir.
sorry, I'm really sorry for it actually. Just after the Tabitha ma'am introduced me, I got disconnected from the internet. My dongle got switched off. I'm really sorry for it. Thanks, HOD ma'am and Tabitha ma'am and yeah, RV College of Engineering for giving this opportunity for me to present my knowledge and share with the students. Yeah, I hope this continues well and yeah, let me start my brief introduction. Yeah, I do have around a decent years of around 12 years of experience in developing ARM and Linux applications. Yeah, I would like to share my knowledge on this. Yeah, let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. Okay. So I already told you guys that I want this class to be more interactive and yeah. Before that, I just want to understand your knowledge on ARM and Linux. How many of you have used ARM Linux in your daily experiments, or are you experimenting with some applications or something like that? If anybody of you used Linux as a development application for ARM, let me know. I just want to know your current level of the knowledge on ARM Linux programming so that it will be helpful for me to continue the session. Let me know if anybody has used ARM Linux as a development, like something like Raspberry Pi or something like that.
Students, you have with respect to Raspberry Pi, right? In the minor project.
Yeah, if you have used Raspberry Pi as the development platform, it is something like you will get the image, entire image, and you will flash the image into the Raspberry Pi, and then you will start compiling the application on the Raspberry Pi, so that you will not have a comfortable feeling of cross development of the applications. Cross development means, you understand, right? You will be writing the application on the host PC and compiling it for the target, and then you are compiling, trying to run the application on the target. That is called as a cross development platform. And I just want to talk about ARM actually. Do you know why we are studying ARM and why we are choosing ARM as our career development platform, and why more and more devices and embedded systems are coming up with the ARM as the device? Do you understand why ARM is emerging as a the best platform to develop embedded system products? Yeah, it's because, yeah, you already have a subject called ARM, I think, ARM instruction set and ARM optimization related thing. Let me tell you why ARM is being used as a development platform for these days is, you know, right, the complexity of the human needs. The complexity of the human needs is more these days actually. To fulfill that need, we need to have a complex applications on the embedded systems. So embedded systems are becoming more and more complex. So to support more and more complex applications, we need to have a powerful platform such as ARM. Actually, ARM is considered as to be one of the powerful platform which runs a lot of applications, complex applications on the device actually. So what I'm trying to tell you is, we are choosing ARM as the, if we choose ARM as the career, you'll have a lot of options. For example, you know, some of the products which I know all of you are using the mobile phone, right? That has got the ARM CPU with the Linux kernel. I think all of you have Android phones, right, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So most of the cell phones these days are Android phones. I mean, 90% of the market is mobile phone market is covered by Android. Do you know what is the reason behind that?
Sir, Android is like it was open source consortium, yes, sir. I think that's why.
Yeah, that is the point actually. So, yeah, I will discuss about these points in today's session. why we need Linux, why we need ARM, and why we need to study ARM Linux application development and all these things. So let me go through my slides. Now you hope why you understand why we are using ARM, right? Why we are studying ARM. It's because ARM is being used as a widely used CPU core, which is used to develop the complex embedded applications. It has got 64-bit configuration as well, so that it can be run on servers. So ARM is being used in servers as well. So let me go through the slides. Yeah. Yeah. So why we have to study Linux when we are going ahead of the career? It's because Linux is an open source actually. Do you know the advantages of the open source, guys? Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah.
No, sir, like I think because like all of us can have access to the source code, no, sir. So if we want any modifications or improvements, we can do it freely.
Exactly, yeah. See, what I'm trying to tell you is, for example, consider you got 10 to 15 years of experience in IT field, and then you don't want to work anymore, and then you want to bring your own device into the market. Okay, so during that time, if you want to write drivers, applications, and the kernel and everything from the scratch, it takes a lot of human resource and a lot of time actually. So the concept of open source begins here actually. If somebody develops it for a particular platform, that can be used across another platform or the same platform actually. So the contribution comes from everywhere, and the time to bring the product will be very less actually. So if you go through the open source, because source code is already developed, just modify for your configuration, and with the less modification, you can bring the product into the market so that the time will be reduced. So what I'm trying to tell you is the contribution comes from everywhere, and the source code will be improved much more and more, and it will be more and more stable, and the advances also will be more in the open source framework. So that's why even small companies took the powerful chipsets and they ported Linux for the chipsets, and they brought their mobile phones into the market in a very short amount of time. Really, let me tell you, really, with the 50 to 60 people's of effort, we can bring a mobile phone into the market today actually. If somebody has already developed the ARM board, which the time required to bring the product into the software product into the market will be very less if we use this open source actually. So what I'm trying to, there will be innovation as well, because the contribution will be coming from the different communities all over the world actually. So as they put the main code into their CPUs and their platforms, so it will be supported across multiple platforms. That's why Linux is supported across desktops, servers, and as well as mobile phones actually. So this is the advantages of open source. So I'm trying to tell you. Yeah, this is what I told actually. After 10 years of experience, if you know how to use the source code effectively, which is already developed, you will be able to bring the product into the market in a very short amount of time. Okay, so the product cost will be reduced drastically, and the time also will be saved a lot. Okay, let me go through another slide. Yeah. I hope all of you know the little understanding of the operating system architecture, right? Why I'm trying to tell you the operating system architecture is, I'm going to teach you how to develop Linux applications on the hardware. I mean, which runs on the hardware. So for that, you need to understand where your work is, and where we need to put the effort, and where we need to modify the code, and how to copy the source, develop the applications into the target and run them. So I think you already have a good understanding of bare metal programming, right? Where you use Keel and write sample applications and executed sample embedded applications on your target, right? By using Keel, I think you have more comfortability. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So what I'm trying to tell you is, if we use Keel, it's called as a bare metal coding, where there won't be any operating system. The source code is a single layer code actually. where you write your own main application and you write the startup code and configuring the registers and all, and finally your application runs and it does something. Okay, but in case of the operating system, if you already have the operating system, the kernel, there is a part of the operating system called as kernel that interacts with the hardware. So if you generalize the kernel layer, you can write any number of applications which uses the kernel layer actually. So it will be more advantageous. And even if your application crashes, it doesn't crash the whole system, because that process will die. Your application will die if there is any issues with your application. But in case of your bare metal coding, what happens is your application is the one which is running. That is the only one thing which is running on the target, right? So in that case, if your application crashes, the entire system goes down actually. Yeah, that's what the advantages of having an operating system on the embedded product. So these are the different layers of the operating system. So the bottommost layer is the hardware. That's commonly known. What is the main goal of our software? Actually, the main goal of our software is to use CPU, RAM, and I/O devices very effectively. Okay. So for that we write the code actually. So the software, the second-most layer is the software layer, where the operating system layer and system softwares and application softwares are combined. Okay. So operating system includes the kernel, driver, and the middleware libraries, and the applications which are in the operating system. That is user written applications. Okay. The user will interact with the software, and finally he uses the hardware effectively, which is his goal. Okay. The main intelligence is built in the hardware. Okay. The ultimate goal of the user should be to use the hardware effectively. Okay. Let me know if you're not able to understand these key concepts. Okay. I will tell you. Initially, I was very fast because I'm taking this session after a long time to a lot of people. So I used to have regular sessions with 3-4 people. This is a session with 30 to 40 people. So I was a bit aggressive. Okay. If you're not able to understand, let me know. You're able to understand this operating system layer concept, right? So bottommost layer is the hardware, middlemost layer is the software, where the operating system, kernel, applications, and libraries will stay, and the user will use from the topmost layer through the software. You're able to understand these key concepts, right? I think you had a subject called operating systems.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They had a subject actually regarding this. Yes, students, you can tell what you have learned. Where exactly you have learned this?
So
Okay.
actually in this semester we have a real-time operating system in which we are learning all of these concepts.
Okay. So I think in that subject you might have a more beautiful way of representing the operating system, right? Like file manager and network manager and all these things. So file system manager,
Device manager, everything.
device manager, and everything, right? So this slide I had put you guys because let me thought to teach to some people who doesn't know anything about the operating system, because you are from electronics and instrumentation background. So I thought of putting this slide. Yeah, coming back to the Linux architecture, when it comes to the Linux architecture, so it's as usual, but the bottommost layer is the hardware layer. Okay. So the Linux operating system consists of the kernel, the system libraries, and the topmost layer is the applications. Okay. The kernel is the part of the operating system which interacts with the hardware directly. Okay. If you want to grow yourself as a driver developer, like kernel developer and driver developer, you have to work in this region actually, kernel layer, where this is a purely written in C code actually. This is a purely C code which has got addresses and some interrupt handling and schedulers and all these things. Okay. For example, if there is a new device, if you want to bring, if you want to interface a new device, you will modify this part of the code, kernel part of the code. And later you will write the applications by using these compilers through the kernel layer. So the application layer interacts with the hardware through the kernel layer actually. The kernel layer has the direct interface with the hardware. Okay. So the compiler, you know the compiler, right? The compiler is something like which is used to compile the C code, which translates the C code into the machine code actually. Are you aware of system libraries? I think this is new to you guys, system libraries.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will just, let me give you a brief introduction about system libraries. Okay. So when you are compiling let me show you one compilation model. Okay. Let me open another slide. I hope all of you are aware of this block diagram. I think this is how the C code get converted, right? Source code, then preprocessor converts it includes the header files and does the pre-processing, and then the compiler comes and then assembly gets executed. What I'm trying to tell you is this linker part of the thing, okay? In the linker part, what happens is finally, what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to produce the executable, okay? So consider you have a hello world program. In the hello world, you are just printing printf hello world, okay? So everything is fine. But do you know where printf is present? Printf is present in the part of stdlib, okay? So stdlib has got a set of functions which are defined to perform the standard functions actually. So that std library needs to be linked to resolve the printf call actually. Otherwise, it says printf not found. The compiler fails with printf not found. Okay, but by default, the stdlib gets included in the compiler. That's why you will not get that error. Okay, what I am trying to tell you is there are some set of code where you have common functionality. You have put the common functionality and inside a code, and you have made it as a book actually. That is nothing but a library. So that printf can be used across many other applications actually. Application 1, application 2, application 3, simultaneously running which are using printfs. Okay, what I'm trying to tell you is the library is nothing but it's a set of common code which are required by the applications. So that will be linked while compiling. So system libraries, there will be a set of standard libraries, okay, which supports the operating system. I will tell you those things in detail, okay. When you are developing the ARM application, you will come to understand what is a library in detail. So for example, if you see my system, I will just show you. This is my Linux system, okay. I'll go to, I hope all of you are able to see my terminal, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Let me increase the font size. Yeah, if you see this, let me search here. So this is the directory which has got the libraries of the operating system, okay. So in this directory, I will put, for example, consider a sample application where, okay, all of you heard of YouTube Player, right? How the YouTube video will be played back. So when you are playing a YouTube video, there will be many things happening actually. When you are playing a YouTube video on your mobile phone, first it has to download the video from the YouTube server. The video data will be compressed format because it transfers through the internet, right? It will be in the compressed format. It should take very less bandwidth. So then the audio and the video data should be separated, and then video data should be displayed on the video device, and the audio data should be displayed on the speaker device, and there should be a sync in between them. Okay, these are the complex operations which happens when you are playing a YouTube video. Okay, so for that, what is happening is, for downloading, there will be a library. Which see there is a library called libcurl, okay, that does the URL handling. That purpose is just to download the links and manipulate the links and upload to the links and all this purpose. That is the library which is specially meant for handling HTTP and HTTPS link, okay. So so if we develop that library, that common component, instead of YouTube Player, another some application can use the same library, the common code, right? So the code size will be reduced. You don't need to write a separate URL handling for application 1, and you don't need to write a separate URL handling library for application 2. We can put it in a common place and call those functions from the while you are downloading the YouTube video. Similarly, FFmpeg and other audio libraries will be used while playing the YouTube video. I hope you are getting a decent understanding of what is a library, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is what I wanted to tell you. So library is nothing but a collection of object code which does a common functionality. Okay, so you need the system libraries. So I was in another slide, right? Yeah. Yeah, this is about system libraries. Okay. So the compiler you already know. The compiler is nothing but which translate the code into the machine code which finally runs on the device. Okay. System softwares. Okay. System software actually they interact with the system. I will tell you in detail. Okay, in the upcoming sessions. Okay. On the user process. So what I'm trying to tell you is these are all nothing but the C functions. Okay. System library is also written in C, C++. Kernel is written purely in C. And then application can be anything. Application can be Java, C, C++, or Ruby, or Perl application, Perl scripting, or something like that. So, for example, how you use can you guess how you can use the system libraries effectively? I mean, in your code actually. Libc, standard library, libc is a library which has got a printf function, okay? What you do? Actually, while you are writing the hello world program, you include a header called stdio.h, and then you call a printf, right? Because the printf is declared in stdio.h. So similarly, the kernel will expose some headers, okay, where some functions are declared. Those functions will be included actually in the applications to use the functions defined in the kernel which accesses the hardware. Okay. So application development is nothing but including the header and linking the libraries and writing the code for the applications. So you should have the decent understanding of system libraries. For example, consider if somebody tells you to develop a YouTube player, okay, what you do? So you first will write the logic, okay. I have to download the video and then separate the audio data, video data, and play to the audio device and video device. And if you have a better understanding of the available system libraries, you will write a better application because you already aware of these system libraries are available for this purpose. So I can use them. I can interface those functions. I can interface those. I can include those headers and call those functions. Finally, I will be able to write the YouTube video player. So if you are not aware of system libraries properly, you will not be able to write a better application. Okay. So you should have which library is for what purpose. Okay. So this you will come to know with the experience actually by using those libraries across your development in industrial projects. Okay. So this is about system libraries. So let me go to the next slide. So now you understand the architecture of the Linux, right? The high-level architecture. I think you already know the high-level architecture like kernel, hardware, and these things. So I hope you got some knowledge on system libraries as well. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So system programmers will write the system libraries. So one more advantages of having a library, I will tell you. Okay. Let me go to the block diagram. Okay. See, one more, the reason why libraries came into picture is, see, for example, after you finish your engineering and you'll go to some domain and you'll start working on some domain, okay? So you will not be able to know everything. Okay, you'll be, for example, if you're working in a YouTube player team, where the team is developing a video player for the device, there will be people who has got only codec skills. They are very good in interfacing the codecs and multimedia. That domain is called as multimedia domain. So they are into multimedia domain. Okay, and some people are very good in doing experts in doing the URL handling, HTTP, HTTPS, and secure protocols. So they will develop the URL library. But some people are driver guys, actually driver and kernel guys. They are experts in interfacing the hardware and they are the core embedded guys. Okay. So they develop the drivers and supporting kernel for the device. So what happens is it's a effort of different skill sets actually. So you will not be, see, after 10-15 years of experience, you will not be able to know everything. You will become a domain expert. Like if you go in a multimedia domain, yeah, I'm a codec expert, I'm an MP4 expert, yeah. So that for that reason you will be recruited. So, and if you, after some years, if you grow as an architect, you need to have all the knowledge actually, architect for a project. So you need to have all the knowledge and you need to resolve the team's dependencies. Okay, that's how the work flows actually. So what I'm trying to tell you is these codes are developed by each and one experts. Okay, so they contribute that layer actually. FFmpeg guys will contribute for FFmpeg libraries, and kernel developers will contribute for kernel libraries. It's the effort of different people and finally integrated in the application finally. So that makes a product actually. So knowing the knowledge of libraries is very important. I will tell you how to use the libraries in your ARM application. Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you have a better understanding of open source frameworks, open source libraries, which libraries for what purpose, you will write a better application and easily. Okay. So this is a system programmer's job. And if you want to go in the area of device interfacing and the core embedded domain, that will be like a kernel and driver developers. Those tools are different actually. Yeah, let me start the topic, okay? So all of you are aware, right? What is an executable? An executable is nothing but some piece of file which runs on the CPU, and also it is a series of instruction. So executable will be formed by compiling the source code, okay? So in Linux actually there is something called as tool chain. In Linux there is something called as tool chain. Tool chain is nothing but it is set of application and debugger. You have seen the Keel IDE, right? In Keel you have the source code. It's a IDE. IDE means it is an integrated development environment, okay, where you have the code editor and debugger and everything integrated in a single tool. So similarly in Linux we use something called as tool chain, so which has got the compiler and the debugger. It's integrated, okay. So have you ever built a Hello World application for ARM? Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, have you ever built application for ARM? ARM Linux?
Yes, sir, we have. Yes, sir, we have.
Okay.
ARM
I think
we have worked on Keel.
okay. I am trying to increase my.
Linux, they have not worked, sir. Linux platform we have not worked. That is what we want to give the awareness to the students that even through Linux it is possible. They work with free software, Proteus, how to mimic the things. Proteus software
Okay.
only the students are using right now. And Keel also we're using Windows only we are doing.
Okay.
Linux,
How about compiling application or compiling a Hello World program on Linux? Do you know how to use the compiler on Linux? Because if you tell me if you know, I will skip that step. Otherwise, I will tell you how to write a Hello World program in Linux. And
I think students, you have learned Linux with other platforms, not with respect to ARM. You only have to tell. Linux coding, have you learned, students? Anywhere other than curriculum? In your minor projects or anything as such?
okay,
No, sir, they have not actually into this.
I will just show you how to write a Hello World program and compile in Linux. Okay. See, Linux is a command-based operating system. Most of the things will do it in the command line. Okay, this is called as a, whatever you are seeing, this is called a terminal, and you will enter the command. For example, if you do ls, it will list out the files. These are the files in this directory. Okay, these are the files in this directory. And if you do cd, it will go to that particular. In Windows, I think you have seen dir command. Dir command is to list the directories. And then cd command is to go to another directory. Okay, just cd to hello. So instead of using a special window, I will just use a normal notepad editor. Okay, I'll write the hello world code. Include stdio.h where printf is declared. Okay, in main. Okay, I will just printf hello world. Okay, so as I'm returning some integer, I'll return 0 from the main application. This is same in Keel also, right? Okay, so this is the code. This is hello world code. Okay, so I will just go here. It is stored in RV directory. Okay, so whatever I wrote the code, it is saved in this directory. So to compile this, what we have to do, GCC is called as the compiler in Linux, which is nothing but GNU C compiler. Okay, which is written by Richard Stallman. He is the developer of the compiler who started the development of GCC. And you know to run the commands, right? How to run the commands in Windows also, in command prompt you might have run the dir command and all these things, simple commands. So similarly, you can invoke GCC here, GCC, and specify the output file. Okay, -o will specify the output file where my output will be hello. Okay, and specify the C file. Okay, hello.c. hello.c. So if I do this, it's not compiled. Let me see. My GCC compiler is not working. Okay, I will compile it for RAM. Let me see. I need to debug why my GCC compiler is not working. So that, see, what the GCC I used here, this is the GCC compiler which compiles for the laptop. I mean the x86 architecture. Okay, so there is something called as ARM Linux GCC. This will compile for ARM board. Okay, the same way, GCC -o hello.c. Let me remove -o option. Yeah, it's compiled now. -o option is not working. Okay, I will tell you later why it is not working. So now let me compile for laptop. GCC -o hello. Okay, hello.c. Yeah. So if there is no output, it means the command is executed successfully. Okay. Otherwise, it indicates the error. So I was in some confusion. Okay. I'm really sorry for it. So I compiled GCC hello.c. So when I compile this, it generates a executable. Okay, file. That's name is a.out. It generates a executable, which is nothing but a.out. If you run a file command, it shows the information about the file. Okay, if you run a file command for that particular file which is generated, it says 64-bit LSB shared object, and it is dynamically linked. It means it is a executable. Okay, I will just run that. Okay, /a.out. So you can see that hello world has been printed here. So the code is simple, right? Vim hello.c. This is the editor I use. So this is the code I had written. Okay, int main, which is same as the main function, and then called printf hello world, and I forgot to add the slash n here. Okay, insert slash n. I will recompile this. Okay, I will rerun this. So it printed hello world, and a new line character is printed, which has taken the command to the next line. Okay, so this way you can compile the code, sample code in Linux. Okay, so similarly I will compile it for ARM. So I have to use ARM Linux GCC -o. I will not specify because it's giving some errors. So I will do hello.c. Okay. So if I do file on /a.out, you can see that LSB executable ARM. So it means it is compiled for ARM platform. Okay. So how to run this on the ARM board? I will just show you. Okay. I will connect the board now. The board is already booted. Okay. So I don't need to worry about booting up the board. So I will ping this. One or three is my board IP address. Okay. If I ping to this, I'm getting the response here. 64 bytes response from this board. It means the board is alive. There is a way to log into the board. See, we are running the application on a system where the operating system resides. Okay. There are many ways to connect to that board. Okay, so one of the ways there is a command called SSH. Okay, secured connection command. So I will name the username. I will log in as root. Okay, and then the board IP 10.1.1.1. This is a board IP. Okay, so I will log in here. It will ask for the board password. Okay, root is my password. So it is logged in. Okay, so I had my BeagleBoard has got a problem. So I could not set up the BeagleBoard on my device. So I'm using my office board. This is my Inventis office board. So I want to hide this. Export PS1. Okay, yeah. So now you can see this is an ARM Linux board. So why I can guarantee you that this is an ARM Linux board is, so there are some special files in Linux. Okay. There is called as proc folder. So if you see the contents of the file called CPU info. CPU info is a file which gives the information about the CPU. Okay. So if I view the contents of this, it says the CPU is ARM7 CPU and it is manufactured by Qualcomm Technologies MDM9207, the CPU name. Okay. So it means I have logged into a Linux which is running on the ARM board. The CPU is this. And there is one more special file called meminfo. Okay. If you see this, total memory is 158 MB. So I have got a RAM of 158 MB on this board. Okay. So this is similar to your my laptop environment, right? Running the command on the board and running the viewing the contents, and similarly you can set up your BeagleBoard also. If you want, I will help you out how to set up. Okay. So now what we did, we compiled a sample hello world code. Okay, and it is ARM executable now. So let us copy it. Okay, CP is the command to copy. Okay, but I am copying from the laptop to the board. So what I use is SCP. Okay, secured copy. SCP /a.out. This is the source, and the destination is login@n.1.1.103 is my board IP, and I have to specify the path here where I want to copy on the board. Home root is my directory. Okay, I will just copy to that. It will ask for the password. So I will go to the board now. This is my board where I copy home root directory. Okay. So if you do ls, you can see that a.out file is there. Okay. So if I run that /a.out, it printed hello world. So it means my compiler is fine. my compiler can produce the executable for the target. So I can use this compiler for my application development. Okay. So any doubts, students, in this?
No, sir.
Okay. I hope you are getting it right.
Yes, sir, we are getting, sir. Sir, actually, we
Okay.
knew about like GCC compiler, so it was easy for us to interpret what you said for the ARM processor.
Okay. You want to know what is GCC, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. GCC is the you have seen Turbo C++ compiler, right? Or Keel compilers, right? For your development. And if you see the IDE for Keel setup, you have everything right on your IDE. Everything set up. Okay. So you don't know where the compiler is located. See, compiler is also an executable, which translate the C code into the executable code. Compiler is also an executable, which is in the application layer. I will show you. Okay. The compiler, the top layer is the application layer. Okay. Compiler is also an application which converts the C code into the exe. Okay. So if you go and search in your Keel environment, there will be a compiler which is an executable. Okay. So GCC is nothing but it's an executable, which GCC will tell you. This is placed here. If you run file command, no, this is not clear actually. What I'm trying to understand is your doubt is what is GCC, right? GCC is an application which is nothing but a command which is used to compile the C code into the machine code. So how to use the GCC is GCC and then the C code name. Where was that? GCC and the C code. C file name is my C file name is hello.c. Okay. So if you specify this, it will compile the hello.c and it generates an executable. Okay. And the executable name is so ls command is nothing similar to the dir command. So if you do ls -l a.o, it is generated recently 12.11. It's generated now, and it's an executable of hello.c. So we can copy this and or we can run this. Okay. Similarly, you can use ARM Linux GCC. I'll just ARM Linux GNUABI GCC hello.c. Okay. See, so instead of GCC, you're using ARM Linux GCC, and hello.c is the source code you are specifying, which code you want to compile. Okay. So this generates a.out, which is an ARM executable. Don't think very deeply at this point of time. Just understand how to generate the C code, the executable from the C code. Okay. So slowly you will understand after 1 or 2 sessions. You will understand in more detail. Okay. So if I explain you about the architecture and everything of GCC, you will not be able to understand. Just understand GCC is just like another command that you use. Are you aware of dir command? Dir command in Windows.
Sir, here actually students are not worked with the command prompt. And
okay.
directly they will have an icon on to the monitor, wherein directly they will be entering into the platform, whether it's a Keel or whether it's with respect to processor or controller.
Okay.
So that is how they're not aware of checking the the whatever you're doing on the command prompt. They didn't use it, in fact. But no issues, sir. But they're very much included into writing in the embedded C program. They're very much through.
Okay.
They can
So what is
write the
in
code,
this session?
but little bit they have to think back and see what are these other instructions to log on from command prompt. That's it.
Okay. So they have to understand what is terminal and what is command prompt, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So guys, before planning for the next session, just I think all of you have got laptops, and try to practice some Windows commands by opening a Windows command prompt. Okay. So if you search in Google Windows command prompt. Tutorial for beginners. Okay. So open some link and try to practice some commands, 2-3 commands. Okay. So because I have not booted Windows right now, otherwise I would have shown you how the command, because you're comfortable with Windows, I could have shown you how Windows command prompt works and what is Windows command prompt and all. Okay.
Yes, sir. That distinct students will take care. They will look, and students, as this will be a continuous process of study, so you people have to look into few commands and experience it, and come back and work with the Linux again.
Okay. So if possible, if you are okay, I will add the basic Linux classes into the session from the next session, like something like Linux commands and basic Linux concepts. Okay. So what I wanted to cover today is, I think we have to cover the basic command prompt and to continue, because further I will be taking some of the examples, like how to create the static executable and how to create the dynamic libraries. What are the advantages of dynamic libraries? See, I can explain you theoretically, but if I do it hands-on, it will be very good for you guys.
Correct. Actually, that will help out our students if they have hands-on. So basically, what they have to right now, what are the initial setup they have to do? You please tell them, sir, so that the next section they will be ready with all the requirements, so that they can go hand in hand, whatever you tell.
Okay, sure, madam. I will just write it here. Okay. Is it possible to install Linux on your system? So let's have a long-term plan. If you install the Linux, if you can install it, I can guide you throughout a long time period for a complete development life cycle. So if possible, install Ubuntu 18.04 Linux. Okay. And yeah, later I will tell you how to proceed with this. Okay. Install Ubuntu 18.04 version of Linux. So if you want, I will pass on the steps to install. Otherwise, it's available in the internet. Okay. I will just show you. Install Ubuntu 18.04 alongside with Windows. Okay. You need Windows also, Linux also. So go to any of these links. Okay. Ask Ubuntu is the link where it is a trusted link. It always gives the better answers. Okay. So if you go here, so they will give you the steps here. Okay. So follow these steps. Somehow you have to install Ubuntu Linux on your systems. Okay. Then we can continue with the commands and all these things. Students, is it possible for you guys to install Linux by yourself? Or by taking help from the computer science guys or something like that?
Yes, sir, we can
Yes,
do
sir, they are installed.
Yeah, see, my plan is to actually, we can install Ubuntu and then install toolchain, and see, even we can work out the applications without the board also. There is something called as emulator, Linux emulator. We can try to use the Linux emulator and we can write some applications in the long run. So if I tell you theoretically, you will not be able to understand much concepts. Okay. If you have, but you are interested to learn ARM Linux programming, right, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So why I'm
Sir,
telling you ARM?
actually, you can show one demo of the. Excuse me to interrupt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, could you show one demo of any one program using Linux so that they will have
Yeah.
a feel how exactly that particular Linux is working? Meanwhile, they will do all the basics, sir, of downloading the things and installing the things on the laptop.
Okay. Sure, madam. I will do it. Okay.
Just examples of.
Okay. So I will tell you students how to use the open source code effectively in your application in your board. Okay. So there is one. I can convert your board ARM board into a VoIP phone. VoIP phone. You heard of VoIP phone, right? You can make calls from one place to another place based on the IP address over the internet. GSM call is mobile to mobile call, like a Skype call. Okay. You can make a Skype call from one place to another place by using your board. Okay. So I will just show you. So there is something called as PJ project. Okay. There is something called as PJ project, which is an open source code. Okay. So that is a free source code VoIP phone. So the source code is already available for the ARM board and x86 boards. So I just downloaded that source code and I just wanted to tell you. So I will go to this. Okay, and compiling the open source frameworks and open source code is very easy, and they have done everything. So this I have compiled it for ARM. Okay. I will just open the config.log. Okay, so let me give a brief introduction. Okay, so if you search for PJ project in internet, you will get a lot of things. Okay, so it is an open source project which is used to do the SIP calling, Y calling, and voice over IP. It's based on voice over IP protocol, voice over internet protocol. So you can make calls from one place to another place based on the IP address and other URLs. Okay. So I had just compiled this code for ARM. Okay. So the binary is present in PJC apps bin folder. So after compiling the code, these are the binaries which are generated. Okay, these are the application binaries which are generated. I have also copied. If you see the file on that. If you run file on that, it clearly says that ARM32 executable, LSP executable ARM version. This application is built for ARM. Okay, I have already copied it on the board. I will log into the board. SSH root at the rate of 10.1.1.103. I put the password. So yeah, I had already copied this application on the board. So now what I will do, this is my board. Okay, this terminal is my board's terminal. So I will make a call from the board to my laptop. Okay. So this you can see, this is not board. This is my laptop. This is my computer name. This is my laptop. And the first one is my board. This is my board. Okay. So I will run the application here. /pj. Okay. The application has booted. I will make a call from my laptop. Okay. So this PJ project I had compiled it for laptop. So I have marked it as x86 PJ project 2.1.0 x86. Okay. So I will use an application PJC Paps bin samples. Okay. So I will run an app /simple and I have to provide the IP address to this. So this app is listening on this IP address and this port number 5060 port number, and 10.1.1.103 is my board IP address. So it is listening on this. So I will make a call from this one. Okay. Oh, sorry, not this one. Yeah. So now I will open the board terminal. You can see plus A to answer and hang on to accept. Okay. I will just do A. Okay. And I will tell that 200 is a code for everything is fine. Okay. I will return it as 200 means everything is fine. So you can see that the state is confirmed. It means call is confirmed and they both are in call. So you can see that they both are in call. So this is a simple application where you can convert your ARM board as a VoIP phone. You can make call via internet, okay? And this is how the call is established. So this is a lot of things, okay? Don't worry about all these things. They use a protocol called SIP protocol. They are SIP protocol messages, okay? So now I will hang up, I think. Yeah, the call has been hanged up. So the call has hanged up, but the state is disconnected. Application ended. So now you saw that, right? So if you see the code of this, so this directory where the source code is present. These are the files actually. If you want to see in the folder, I'll just show you. So this is a folder where my PJC VoIP open source stack is available. So this is already developed by some people. We are just compiling and we are making our board as a VoIP phone. Okay. So if you see the size of the code, it's a 284 MB code. Okay. You know how much time it takes to write 284 MB of code by ourselves? It takes years together. But this is developed by open source guys. So this is how you can make the existing open source code into your application. Okay. This is one of the demo I wanted to show you today. So similarly, we can compile audio player. You can convert your board as a MP3 player. Okay. So for that, actually, your audio device should be proper on the board. I have employer source code, I think. Yeah, I have employer source code. I will compile it for my desktop. Okay. So this is configuring. So after that, it will take some 5 minutes to compile this. Okay. So this is employer is another open source code which is already available in the internet. So we will just download it into our laptop, and if you want to play on our laptop, we will compile it for the laptop. Otherwise, if you want to compile it for the board, and if you want to make MP3 board as MP3 player, you can convert into, you can compile, cross compile the code into the board, and you can play MP3 files on the board. Okay. So I will just compile it. Make is the command to compile with 8 files simultaneously. Okay. It's compiling. So there is an error. Compilation error. So if we get compilation error, we have to resolve that actually. Open source actually, it's not like a spoon feeding. So that is one challenging part I tell you. So open source things are not spoon feeding. It is something like if you face the errors, the community is there. So you can post the message in the community, they will be able to help you out if there is any error. But I will just comment that out of the code. Okay. I will just comment this part of the code so that it will not give any issue. So there are more compilation errors now. Okay, this take times to resolve. These are internal compiler errors. Okay, I will see whether if I have any other source code to compile. Yeah, I have one more source code for you guys to show. Desktop RV. Okay. Curl. I spoke about curl library, right? That curl library is a C URL. It's a C library. This open source code is written in C, and this specially handles the URLs. Okay, HTTP, HTTPS, www. These URLs it will handle. Okay, I have already compiled this. I will show you again how to compile. So this will configure. So it requires one more option. So in every open source framework, configure is the first step and make is the second step. Make will compile, and configure will configure the source code into the particular development environment. So if your particular target environment, okay. So if you install Linux and if you attend the classes regularly, you will come to know more and more about this, and all these things will be familiar to you. Okay. So configure is complete. I will just compile it. Okay. So it has already compiled. So it did not compile again. So I will go here. src. It has built a executable called curl. Okay. So I will download some file from this by using this. Okay. What you want to download? Let me download something. Okay. So you can see this HTML link, right? I will take this HTML link. Okay. And then I will pass it to this /curl, and I will pass this to this link so that it can be downloaded. Okay. Yeah. This is the content of that link. Okay. It has downloaded that link. You can see this. So if you want, I will write it into a file and I will open. Okay. So I will store it on the desktop, and I will mark this as rv_curl.html. Okay. So yeah. So it is created on the desktop. Okay. I will open the desktop here. Desktop. So yeah, rv_curl.html is created. I'll just open that. Okay, so this is the page that I downloaded. If you see the link here, it is pointing to home Chandra desktop rv_curl. So libcurl successfully downloaded the URL, and this is purely written in C. You know, right? 90% of the embedded ARM embedded systems runs on C language. I mean, they are developed by using C language. So these libraries are very useful when you are interfacing your application with the cloud actually. The cloud is the thing, something like which is a link, right, which is hosted on the internet. So by using CURL library, you can upload to a link, you can download to a link, and you can do multiple operations with a link. So this is commonly used in industries actually, CURL library. So hope you are getting little things. How the applications are compiled and used, right?
Yes, sir. Understanding. I think students have got a vast idea about now, at least an idea what exactly happening in the industry, how this ARM is being used. Yeah, we have got a few insights about it.
Guys, one thing I'll tell you, see, you guys are electronics and instrumentation engineers, right? Most of the people you will be working in C language and C++ related things in embedded systems, okay? And you will be using Java and C# and other things very less, actually. If you are a domain-oriented career developer, career maker, you will be working in most of the time C language. So you should be aware of which library is used for what purpose when you go to industry. Okay, and how to really in our ARM application. Okay. So if there is a file called .h, I will show you. Okay. Yeah, there is a header here. See, I just wanted to show you this actually. See, in case of printf, what you did, in case of printf, you included stdio.h and then you call the printf, right? Similarly, you can call the functionality of this library. You can call the functions of this library by including curl.h. Okay, you can include curl.h and you can initialize this library. And then there are some other functions. Okay, this is a little big library, and you can call the functions of this library for the URL handling. Yeah, in one of my session, I can tell you how a URL can be downloaded by using a C code. So here actually I have shown you an executable which is built by curl. So similarly, we can write our own application and which can download the link actually. So see, do you understand in what kind of situations this library will be useful? Consider you are writing in, you are doing a final year project, okay, where the sensors are interfaced to your board and you are reading from the sensors from in your application, and that board is connected to the cloud where you are monitoring the, IoT, typical IoT applications, right? Where the sensors are connected to the board and the board is connected to the cloud, and finally the sensors are read into the cloud actually. So you will be monitoring the device or the destination by using the cloud. Okay, in that kind of situation, so if you are developing the application by using C language, this library will be very useful to interface with the cloud. So similarly, there are many more libraries guys, in Linux. If you see, there are a lot of free libraries available. The thing is, you have to effectively use them. Okay, so I will give you a link how to install Linux. Okay. I hope this link will help you out. Yeah, this is a clear link. Okay. So go through the requirements. No, this is not the right link. Let me make it as dual boot. Okay. So on this links, lot of advertisements is there. Yeah, if you follow the steps in this link, you will be able to install Linux on your Windows, so that it will be dual boot. Okay, I will forward the link to your professor. Okay. Any link is fine. I hope you will be able to install. From the next session, we will do some practical sessions like basic Linux classes and some of the few projects. After one or two classes, you will be able to write your own application and integrating the open source libraries to your application. Ma'am, this is what I wanted to tell you today.
Yes, sir. Yeah, the introduction to the Linux is very good, sir. The students have got insights regarding how exactly they can write C code and manipulate it, and how exactly it can be interfaced with the free software. The two examples which are shown is very significant. I think students by now you might have understood how best what is the importance of C. That is what we were telling you from the beginning. The importance of C is very much necessary, whether it's in a placement or whether it's in any industry. Students, to any two students, I want you people to give feedback. Like what made you to have, how best you have been motivated in order to work with C language in the industry field. Anybody can give your brief insights on based on the sir's explanation till now. How best we could take forward this series of webinar, whatever we started today, how best we can take forward. I think Ronak, you can share your thoughts. How exactly?
Ma'am, I just wanted. Yes, ma'am. Like, ma'am, we have studied what ARM processors in our this semester only, and we have come to know that it can be used in many ways. Similarly, if we use ARM Linux that sir explained, and we can surely can make different, like sir explained, kernels, and how to include different libraries and how to map the hardwares with the softwares. I think this will really help us in increasing our knowledge in this field. And embedded system is one of the most demanding and most favorable subject in the industry. So this webinar, I think, will really help us a lot. We have studied C programming, and we know the concept of how to write ARM instructions. So I think if we could understand how to use the Linux and how to use the ARM Linux, this will really help us a lot.
Exactly. Since we know part by part, C also you are very well known, even the ARM also are well known, but we should know how to interface these two now. That is where the Linux channel is coming into picture. That is how our sir is helping us out to learn the interface of the Linux with the coding of a .C program, any application it may be. So people, when you study about this, you can take up few projects, maybe with related to the society or ongoing projects, which sir will want to discuss with us. And further, we may have internship as well, and it can have this as a major projects too. Sir is having many project issues taken by different organizations as such, so that projects can be given to you people as an intern. So please look into this, make yourselves ready, industry ready, so that you, whoever is interested to work in the domain of architecture, or say in the domain of kernel or software or embedded C or embedded applications, this plays a vital role. So please make this as a opportunity and study well, and whatever subsequent classes which we are conducting, attend it and make use of it to the extent. Thank you, Chandrasekhar sir, for your explanation. And,
Thanks, Tamara.
yeah, definitely we will take this forward. Students also, we will make certain groups, and definitely we will schedule it again for the second year students too, sir. Today they are missing, in fact. This is only for the third year students which we have scheduled today. Most probably when we start with the basic concepts, as you told, of the Linux classes. So I will try to involve the second year students too, because by the time they come to the fourth year, they can come up with certain product type of project, not only doing the things here and leaving the project there itself, nothing as such, but something which is relevant to the society, or which is useful for the users. So it should be taken to some product level. So we will look into that, sir, and try to have the classes too. Anything,
Sure.
Veena ma'am, please suggest, Veena ma'am, from your side.
Yes, sir, thank you. It was really a very interactive session, useful session as well for students who are new to Linux and learning Linux-based programming using ARM processors. good point here is we can definitely collaborate and take this further. So we are glad to know that you spoke about internships as well. So the next week, the coming week, we will be having sessions related. Once the internals are over for them, they'll be coming for offline lab schedule as well. So it would be really helpful for us if we could have few more sessions related to the lab aspects itself, programming through ARM processors. Using the boards that do exist in our department itself, we can have certain projects being given to them so that they do learn and understand the importance, because when we say real-time programming these days, students usually back off once they complete ARM processor course or any particular course up to the matter. They usually back off saying that it is very difficult to take it further. So it's really a good insight that you have given today. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you. And
Thanks.
we'll definitely meet up. Students, one request, please fill up the feedback forms. It would definitely help us in giving the inputs to the presenter and as well take this to further level. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Savita,
Vandana. Thank you then. Students, again, fill the feedback form without fail. Thank you, sir. We'll meet again. We'll communicate
ma'am.
with this, sir. Thank you. Students, yeah, we will end the call here. I thank all the professors who attended here to the this meeting. Prasanna sir, thank you so much for you joining this particular meeting, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.